Hi everyone, welcome to the OneCodeCamp channel. In this video, we are diving into the structure of MongoDB, a NoSQL or NoSQL data. So we'll explore how data is organized into documents and collections and become acquainted with the ins and outs of MongoDB Compass. And lastly, we'll explore some basic commands in MongoDB Shell. So let's get started.
Hey guys, I'm Abby, and welcome back to OneCodeCamp channel. Today we continue with MongoDB series. We are going to talk about documents and collections, and how to create them using MongoDB Compass and MongoDB Shell. Let's go! Before we dive in and use MongoDB Compass and MongoDB Shell, let's talk about how data is structured in MongoDB, for us to better understand how things work inside our database, and for us to easily interact with it. For us to better understand MongoDB, I found this library analogy that made me understand MongoDB better. So in a library, we have different sections. We have section for fiction, science, history, and so on. Inside those sections are books, and inside those books are pages and pages, which contain the data. The same way we have this library, we have MongoDB. Then the sections are the databases that hold information together that are relevant to each other. Then we have the books, which are the collections. Some books have 100 pages, some thousands. And like in our collections, that can also vary. Then finally, we have the pages, which are the documents in MongoDB. And here is where the data is contained. Now, let's explore how MongoDB Compass works. To start, let's open up MongoDB Compass, and we will see this default URI, which means that we will be working with MongoDB locally on our computer. To connect, we just have to click this Connect button without modifying anything. Later on, when we work on online services of MongoDB, which we will introduce to you on the later parts of our MongoDB series, we will show you what other things we can do right here. But for now, let's just work on this locally. Once you connect, it will show us the databases that we have on our computer. If it didn't work on your side, let's check if our MongoDB is running by searching services on our search bar. Click on that. Look for MongoDB. And make sure that this is running. And here, if you right-click on that, you will be able to start or stop the service. Going back, we see all the databases we currently have. If it's your first time using this, you will see some databases, even though we have not created anything before. For example, here, we have the local database, and inside of that, we have the startup log collection, which contains the documents that represent each time whenever I have started this service. Then on the left-hand side, we can also see the list of databases we have. You can switch between any of them. You can open them up right here or collapse them. You can create a collection. And up here, we can create a new database by clicking the plus icon. Let's try creating a new one. Then here, this will pop up asking us for a database name. In this case, I want, for example, a database for my music library. So let's name that Music Library. Then it also asks us for a collection name. For this one, we can have multiple collections in the database, right? But for now, it will just ask us for our first collection. So let's add songs. let's skip all these other checkboxes for now and click Create Database. If we click that database, we will see the collection we have created. We can explore this songs collection and create a document here. To do that, let's click Add Data button. Now here we have two options. The first one is that we can import JSON or CSV file, but what we'll do right now is we're going to choose Insert Document. And here, we can see that MongoDB automatically created this ID for us. And we also have these curly braces because remember that this is like a JSON object. Now let's create that document. Let's have the title and name it Song 1. And then we want the artist. Let's name that Rain Gem. And then we want the duration, for example, 185. So that's a number without quotation marks. And genres, and we want it to be an array of information. So pop and rock. Okay, and then we want to add another one, which is the rating. And let's make that 9. Right. We are now ready to insert this document. That's one way of adding a document. We can also add multiple documents all at once. So if we go here, again, in Add Data, we can see that we can paste one or more documents in here. So I will just copy and paste multiple documents that I have created before. And before we go ahead and click Insert, there are two things I want you all to notice. Since we are adding more than one document, we have added a square bracket right here because we are adding an array of data. And we have multiple objects here. Also notice that we didn't include the ID right here. But once we insert this document, we can see that MongoDB still included and added an ID for us for each one of those documents that we have created. So we don't have to worry anything about that if we are adding multiple documents at once. One more thing to notice, when we hover over each document, we have these icons on the top right, and here we can do a lot of things. We can copy it, clone, and delete as well. The first one is we can edit existing data. So for example, let's change this one and click on Update. We also have this filter right here. So here we can see that we should have the curly braces, the field, and the value. So for example, I want to see all of the songs that are only rated 9. So let's have the curly braces, rating, then 9. And what it only returned to us are the songs with a rating of 9. Okay, now that we know the essentials of MongoDB Compass, we can now see how MongoDB Shell works. Let's open up the MongoDB Shell that we have installed in our previous video. If you haven't watched it yet, make sure to check it out. But for this video, let's proceed by opening up our shell. Here, we can see it's telling us to enter a MongoDB connection string. So what we can do is pull that up from MongoDB Compass. And here on the top left corner, we can see this localhost, then 3 dots beside it. Click on that and click Copy Connection String. Now we can paste that in our MongoDB shell. Now, we will see all of these information and that we are currently connected to localhost that is the same as the one in MongoDB Compass. To start, let's try the command that I have introduced to you in our previous video, and that is show DBS. It will then show us all the databases that we currently have. Now, we will notice that we have this test, meaning that we are currently working inside a database called test. However, if we check the databases that we have, right here, we don't have a database called test. So what we can do to work on a database that exists, we can use the command use space, then the database name. Let's use the music library database that we have created. Now it shows music library and that we are currently working inside that database. We can switch back and forth and switch to other databases. Now we are on the test database again, and it is worth noting that even though we don't have test database, MongoDB Shell allows us to switch to that database. In other words, it will allow us to switch to any database even though it doesn't exist. We will explore more on that later on how is that useful. Another command is CLS, which means clear screen. And it allows us to have a little more room to work on. If we want to see the collections inside our current database, we can type in show collections, and it will list down all of the collections inside this database. If you want to get help or explore more on any of the commands, we can type in help, and all of the commands will be listed in here. Now, let's try another command that we can see in this help section. Let's try to exit from MongoDB Shell. And now it's gone. So let's open that again and try to use a few more commands in MongoDB Shell. So here I connected to our local host once more. Also switch to the music library that we have created earlier. Let's clear our working space for now. And we will go on and create another collection. Earlier, we did that using MongoDB Compass. But this time, we will do that inside MongoDB Shell using the command db.create collection. Open and close parentheses, quotation marks, and inside the quotation marks is whatever we want to call our collection. So here I want to make a collection for artists, so I named it artists. Press enter, and it shows this OK one. And if we view the collections using the command show collections, it will show us the existing collections that we have inside the music library database, including the one that we have created using MongoDB Shell command db.create collection. And if we go back to MongoDB Compass, refresh our database, it will now appear here as well. Now, a while ago, we learned that we can switch to a database even though it doesn't exist yet. Let's try that again by going to test DB. Use test. And let's view our existing databases. And we can see that test database is not here, even though on this left side, it says that we are currently in the test database. So for this to actually exist, we can do something about it. We can make use of the command that we have learned, which is db.createCollection. Then the name of your collection. In this case, I will name it test collection. If we hit enter and show the collections inside test database, it says OK. And let's check that in MongoDB Compass. True enough, our test database and test collection is created all at the same time. To double check what database we are currently working in, we can also make use of the command db, and it will list down the database that we are in. Since we only tested this one out, we can drop this database by using the command db.dropDatabase, open and close parentheses. So drop, if we take a look in MongoDB Compass, this is the delete button right here. And it will drop the current database that we are currently in. Now we see OK, 1, then dropped test. If we go back here, refresh database, the test database is now gone. And just to double check, let's show DBS in our shell. And the test database is not listed here anymore as well. So, to summarize, the MongoDB Shell commands that we have seen so far, we have show DBS to show all of our existing databases, use, then the name of database to go to a specific database, CLS to clear our screen, show collections to show all of the collections inside your current database, help to see the shell commands, db to show what database you are currently in, db.createCollection to create a collection with your preferred name, db.dropDatabase to delete your current database, finally, exit to exit from MongoDB Shell. In the next videos, we will introduce more commands that we can use.